So how does a grocery store that once began as a small family business in Yorkshire end up becoming one of the biggest names in British retail? A company that has not only survived decades of brutal competition, but has also thrived while some of its rivals fell behind. Today, ASDA is pulling in more than 20 billion in annual sales, feeding millions of households every single week, and holding its ground in the face of Tesco, Sainsbury's, Aldi, Lidl, you name it. But here's the twist. ASDA didn't just stumble into its success. It fought tooth and nail for every bit of market share, and its story reads almost like a heroic journey, one that shows how determination, adaptability, and a refusal to back down can turn an underdog into a national powerhouse. In this video, I want to take you inside that journey, walking you through the 7 biggest reasons why ASDA is still winning, with each chapter revealing something unexpected, something that made ASDA not just another grocery chain, but a brand that shaped the way Britain shops. Stick with me, because the most surprising part comes right at the end. When you walk into ASDA, you notice something immediately. It doesn't scream luxury, it doesn't try to overwhelm you with complicated loyalty schemes, it doesn't rely on gimmicks. What it does is simple yet powerful. It promises everyday low prices. That phrase is not just a tagline, it's the backbone of the brand. Back in the 1960s and 70s, when British shoppers were used to corner shops with inconsistent pricing and supermarkets that often marked products up before discounting them, ASDA broke the mold. They said no tricks, no flash sales, just the lowest price we can give you every single day.
Recent figures reveal that the average household in the UK is shelling out an extra $2.75 on groceries annually compared to last year.
It sounds almost boring compared to the flashy marketing campaigns, but think about it. If you're a working class family trying to stretch every pound, what do you really want? Certainty, stability, the knowledge that this store is not trying to catch you out. That consistency built trust, and trust built loyalty. But here's where the story gets even more interesting, because that philosophy didn't just stop at pricing, it became part of ASDA's DNA, shaping how they source products, how they negotiated with suppliers, and even how they designed their stores. And as we'll see in a moment, that philosophy caught the attention of a retail giant across the Atlantic who was about to change ASDA's destiny forever. In 1999, ASDA was acquired by Walmart, the world's largest retailer. Now let's pause here, because at the time, this was huge. Walmart wasn't just a company, it was a global retail machine with the kind of scale and buying power the UK had never seen. For ASDA, it was like a local fighter suddenly getting access to the best training gym in the world, the best equipment, the best playbook. Through Walmart, ASDA could import strategies that squeezed efficiencies out of every corner of the business. They gained negotiating leverage with suppliers, allowing them to keep prices low without cutting quality. They learned about logistics, about massive distribution networks, and how to move products across country at lightning speed. And while not every Walmart idea worked perfectly in Britain, cultural differences mattered, but one thing did stick. ASDA doubled down on the value model, and with Walmart's backing, they were able to do it at scale. This is the moment ASDA stopped being just a Yorkshire grocer with ambitions and became a true national competitor to Tesco. But there's a catch. Being part of a global giant can make you strong, but it can also make you vulnerable, and ASDA would soon face a wave of challenges that tested whether it could adapt to the unique quirks of British shopping culture. Here's the thing about Britain, we don't shop for groceries the way Americans do. Walmart's model of gigantic supercenters and bulk buying works brilliantly in the US, where people drive pickup trucks and store months of food in big freezers. In the UK, we like smaller, more frequent trips. We want fresh bread, fresh milk, smaller packs, tighter aisles. ASDA learned this lesson the hard way. For a time, they leaned heavily into the American way, but British shoppers weren't biting. So what did ASDA do? They adapted. They kept their large stores, yes, but they rethought them. They integrated fresh bakery sections, more ready-to-eat meals, and smaller pack sizes. They launched ASDA Smart Price for budget shoppers and Extra Special for those who wanted a little luxury without leaving the store. It was a balancing act, serving both the price-sensitive and the quality-conscious. And this cultural sensitivity became one of their secret weapons. While rivals like Tesco sometimes struggle to juggle value versus premium branding, ASDA simply said, we'll give you both, under one roof. But of course, shopping culture doesn't stay the same forever, and when the internet came along, ASDA had to make another bold move to stay relevant. Fast forward to the 2000s and the 2010s, the way Britain shopped was shifting again. More families wanted the convenience of home delivery, more workers needed quick stops on the way home, and suddenly the German discounters Aldi and Lidl were eating into everyone's market share. ASDA's response? They leaned hard into online grocery delivery, becoming one of the early leaders in the UK. While Tesco had the scale, ASDA's strategy was different. They focused on value, even online. They introduced delivery passes, click and collect, and systems that gave customers flexibility without inflated fees. Then Then came Asda Express, their push into smaller convenience formats, something the old Asda would never have considered. These stores gave them access to city dwellers, commuters, and people who weren't going to drive out to a giant store every week. It wasn't perfect, the competition was brutal, but Asda showed again and again that it wasn't afraid to pivot, to adjust, and find new ways to reach shoppers. About half of all Asda sales are now linked to Asda Rewards app, with around 6 million users regularly using it. But let's pause, because Asda isn't just about logistics and pricing, it has something deeper, something more emotional that binds it to British families. If you grew up in the UK, chances are Asda was part of your childhood. Maybe it was the place your mum dragged you on Saturday morning. Maybe it was where you bought school uniforms on your first day of term. Maybe it was where you filled your trolley with cheap snacks for a birthday party. Asda became more than a supermarket, it became a stage for everyday British life.
Asda experienced a tougher month with its market share sliding a full percentage point from 12.8 to 11.8%. The Co-op also lost ground, dropping half a percentage point to 5.2% market share. Online shopping continues to claim an increasingly prominent role, now making up 12% of all supermarket sales in the past quarter.
Their rollback campaigns with the famous smiley face slashing prices were iconic. Their George clothing line gave families affordable fashion at a time when others were struggling to keep up. And there's another layer here. Asda understood the community. They invested in local initiatives, they supported charities, they became not just a shop but a neighbour. In a world where supermarkets can feel faceless and corporate, Asda managed to feel warm, approachable and familiar. But familiarity alone doesn't win grocery wars. To survive the storms of recessions, inflation and financial crisis, you need resilience, and Asda proved it had that in spades. The 2008 financial crash, Brexit, the cost of living crisis, rising inflation, each of these moments shook the UK economy, and supermarkets were right at the heart of the storm. Shoppers cut back, competitors slashed prices, and discounters surged. Many retailers stumbled, but Asda had built its brand on value, and in hard times, value is exactly what shoppers need the most. During recessions, Asda often gained customers from rivals, because families trusted that if anyone could stretch their budget, it was Asda. Even during the pandemic, when shelves were empty and uncertainty was everywhere, Asda's online system scaled up faster than most, helping people get essentials delivered when they needed them most. Resilience is the mark of a true hero. It's not about never being hit, it's about taking the punches and still standing, and Asda did more than stand, it evolved. In 2021, Walmart sold Asda to the Issa brothers, two self-made British billionaires who built their empire through petrol stations and convenience retail. Suddenly, Asda had new leadership with a fresh vision. And here's where the hero story comes full circle. The Issa brothers understood local British shopping habits intimately. They knew how important convenience was becoming. They knew that fuel and food could be paired. And they saw Asda not just as a supermarket, but a platform for growth. Under their ownership, Asda has been expanding convenience stores, experimenting with formats and strengthening its position as a value champion at a time when inflation is squeezing everyone. And the story isn't finished. Asda's new era could either cement it as the long-term hero of British groceries or present its toughest challenge yet. So why is Asda winning? Because it never stopped fighting. From its roots as a small Yorkshire dairy to its rise under Walmart, from adapting to British culture to embracing online, from embedding itself into family life to weathering economic storms, Asda's journey is one of grit, adaptability and an unshakable promise of value. Now, here's my question for you. Do you think Asda's hero story will keep going strong in the next decade? Or will Aldi and Lidl eventually claim the crown? Follow, subscribe, and let me know in the comments.